2 months ago, I received a phone call from my bank. Now, bear in mind, I'd been with the same banking group since 1980. I've had my personal account there with that group ever since that date. I ran my business through there when I worked in the city in the 1990s into the noughties, and today I have my personal and business accounts there. But 2 months ago, I get a phone call out of the blue from a personal manager, a new personal manager, not one I'd ever spoken to before, who simply says on a phone call, "We are closing your accounts." I asked why. No reason was given. I was told it would all be explained in a letter that would arrive in a couple of days' time. The letter just told me the accounts are closing and please, by the date they gave me, make sure you've moved to another bank. I did inquire further within the group. I sent an email to the chairman and I got someone ring me up and say it's purely a commercial decision. I thought. So I've tried for 2 months to get another bank account and I've spoken to 7 different banks and they've all said no. And the reason is it would seem to be political. I don't know precisely what the reason is, but there is a category of person called a PEP, a politically exposed person. It was a term that came into our law as a result of our membership of the European Union. I'm told that the city minister and the government are thinking about redefining it, but that may take some time. So it could be purely political. It could be, of course, prejudice. After all, I'm pretty used to prejudice that comes from the establishment against me. But I also worried very much that what was said in the House of Commons last year by Chris Bryant, Member of Parliament for South Wales, Labour member, chairman of the Privileges Committee, who used parliamentary privilege to say that in a calendar year I'd received £500,000 from the Kremlin. This was done under parliamentary privilege. I appealed to the Speaker, I appealed to Mr Bryant, but there'd been no retraction whatsoever. There have also been extraordinary headlines written about me in all of the newspapers, some suggesting that on the night of the Brexit referendum, I engineered a coup along with the hedge funds where we pushed the pound up, shorted it, and we all made a fortune. Well, I'm afraid that isn't true either. But whatever reason, it's become clear to me that I cannot get a bank account. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that basically you've become a non-person. It's rather like living in Germany or Russia 80 years ago, or perhaps even communist China today. I wonder, are we living in communist China today in this country? Are we akin to communist China? Love your thoughts on that, please. Farage@gbnews.com. Well, all of this has been quite stressful and quite difficult, because without a bank account, you simply can't exist, you simply can't live. But what's even worse is that over the course of the last few months, some of these ridiculous rules and closures have been extended to my immediate family. And whilst I'm sad and annoyed about where I am, I'm absolutely incandescent that members of my family should be singled out and targeted just because I campaigned for and pushed a Brexit campaign for all of those years. This is truly and utterly disgusting. But it isn't just happening to me. I know of people going back nearly 10 years who were UKIP candidates, UKIP MEPs, others in prominent positions in the Brexit Party who also had their bank accounts closed. But none of them really had the voice to speak out. And I feel that I do. There are other people in media, too, who've had their media accounts closed down. And it seems to be all one way. It seems to be all against people who have traditionalist or conservative views. There is something totally outrageous going on here. So I've been considering, over the course of a day, my options. I've spent time talking to lawyers. I've been considering legal action. I've been asking myself whether, frankly, it's even worth staying in this country. I could go to one of the fintechs and I could get the ability of at least a payments mechanism, but it's not a bank account, it doesn't have a debit card, it wouldn't pay you interest on money, and you certainly wouldn't be able to borrow any money or get a mortgage if you wanted one in the future. So I've been seriously considering my options, and I said earlier on today that at 7 o'clock tonight I'd tell you what my next steps were. Well, you could knock me down with a feather, because the phone rang at 7:15, and it was the bank that wants to close me down completely in a few weeks' time. They claim there's nothing political at all in what they're doing. It's purely a commercial decision. And it was said to me on the phone a few minutes ago, they could get me a personal account with another bank that is part of the same group, but that doesn't apply to the business account, so frankly, isn't of much use to me. I'm used to battling against the odds. I'm used to being prejudiced against in the most extraordinary way. And I'm generally pretty tough in fighting through these things. But just for once, I'm really pretty thoughtful about whether it's actually worth living in this country right at the moment. So what I am going to do is take some time off, take a week or two off, maybe more, to consider what my next steps are going to be. This is going on in our country. It's happening to plenty of people. I just happen to be one of them. But you know what? Unless this rot is stopped, in time to come, you at home may say things on Facebook or Twitter that may result in you losing your bank accounts too. That, I think, is how scary this whole thing is.